Hey YouTube, happy New Year's Eve. My last video was going to be my last video of the year, but I had someone in the comment section of this YouTube channel and several people on Facebook where I share a lot of my YouTube videos at keep asking me the question over and over again, why is it that I'm wanting to immigrate to another country? And I've already mentioned the reasons why many times throughout my trucker vlog, but I realized that I've never really created a YouTube video that actually explains in detail on why I'm doing that. The closest I've done is create a YouTube video why I'm choosing to go to Argentina instead of Mexico, because my original plans was to immigrate to Mexico. So I'm going to just go ahead and make this video as the last video of the year to sort of, I guess, remind everyone what this YouTube channel is all about. But if you want to watch other YouTube videos I made on this subject, just go to Breaking the Family Curse. Yeah, anyway, I have two basic reasons on why I want to immigrate to another country. And first of all, I do want to say that I love America. I don't hate America. I hate what it's become. But I find the creation of the United States Constitution and the Bill of Rights and the story behind it to be the most inspiring thing ever. And I'm proud to live in a country that put man on the moon. And but unfortunately, there's this country's going in a certain direction that causes me to want to move to another country. And I represent probably a large chunk of people here in the United States going through a situation where I want to chase the American dream. And the American dream, from what I understand, is the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, the ability to work your ass off, and in return you get to build a life and have a life. And unfortunately, I can't do that in the United States. I've spent the majority of my life, I'm 39 years old right now, and I feel like I've wasted most of my life trying to achieve that American dream, where I settle down, get married, have kids, and work my ass off, and then as a result be able to provide. And unfortunately, I can't do that in the United States. I mean, the older I get, the more money I make, the more the price of everything skyrockets. And it's let's just say if I do meet a good wife, and she doesn't divorce me and take half my shit, how the hell am I going to pay for it? I mean, movie tickets used to be like $6.50, and that's going to a good movie theater. I went and watched the Avatar movie, and it was like $30-something for a movie ticket. The 99-cent menu at Wendy's is now a $5.99 menu. I used to get a Snickers bar at Walmart for 35 cents. Now it's $2. Many times more than $2, a lot of places. My first pack of cigarettes growing up was $4.50. And the last pack of cigarettes I bought, which is also Marlboro, it would cost me $11. The only way you get a decent price is if you're in Missouri. And it's just, and those are just examples of how much the prices skyrocket. And the cost of living is insane. My mom financed a house for the first time in her life in 1995. 4-bedroom house, $80,000 in Southwest Denver in Barnum. And that same house with a cracked foundation in a bad neighborhood, that's a lower middle class neighborhood right next to the projects, it's now worth $350,000. So that's just how things are going. And it feels like everything in American culture today seems to be rigged against the nuclear family. And that's just one of the reasons. Also, my family originally immigrated to the United States from the British Isles and West Germany. One half was from the British Isles and the other half is from West Germany. And both sides of my family immigrated to the United States several generations ago for the same reason, is that they wanted future generations of their family to have a better life. And that's the same story for most immigrants that come to the United States. And I'm proud to live in a country where a lot of people around the world move here to try to have a better life. And but unfortunately, the way things are going, it looks like my family's history is going to repeat in the form of me going to immigrating to another country in the near future to for the same reasons. And here's the thing. I am going to Cordoba province in Argentina as soon as I have $150,000 saved up. That's the whole reason I'm a trucker, is so that I could save up that kind of money. And sure, Argentina also has problems with inflation, and every country's got its problems. But of course, down there, and here's a great example. My sister financed a house. She's 5 years older than me, and she's a property manager. That's what she does for a living. And she's got a nice 4-bedroom house in a nice neighborhood, like an upper middle class neighborhood. And she's like around $350,000 in debt just for the house. And I don't even know how far she's in debt with the SUV that she drives. And she's got a nice house, got a nice vehicle. She has an adopted son, and my mom lives there. And she seems like the picture of success, picture of the American dream. But unfortunately, the only way to achieve that dream as a normal average American is to go hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. And my sister seems like she's got it all together. She seems successful. But thing is that that's only the illusion of success. If you have to go hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt to achieve the American dream, that's not the American dream. That's the American nightmare. That's slavery. That's indentured servitude. Because if you really think about it, I mean, who knows how much interest she's going to have to pay over the years and on the house and the car. And even when you do pay that off, the property taxes are high, like really high. And I know a lot of people say, oh, that's just life. But you got to understand, the world is so much bigger than the United States. And also, her adopted son is growing up in a broken home. There's no father involved. And I'm not hating on my sister. I love my sister with all my heart. I'm just trying to paint a picture here. I represent, I'm 2 to 3 generations deep of kids growing up in broken homes in my family. I think my nephew represents the 3rd generation in a row. I could be wrong. It's just that my family's so broken up. I don't know much of my family's history from my dad's side, only more from my mom's side, because I have an uncle who's a Freemason, and he's really good at keeping track of genealogy, but it's hard to find any real information on my dad's side of the family because, good luck seeing a dad in the picture in a family in the United States. And but yeah, so I made a commitment when I was 13 years old. I'm 39 now, that I will do whatever it takes to break the family curse that's in my family of kids growing up in broken homes and the problems that come with that. And 9 out of 10 people that I meet in the United States, and I'm speaking as someone who's been to all 48 continental United States as an over-the-road trucker, and someone who's drifted around the United States most of my life, even before I was a trucker. So I've been around. And 9 out of 10 people I meet in the United States, I'm talking about average Americans, are in the exact same boat I'm in, 2 to 3 generations deep of kids growing up in broken homes. And it is the way it is. And it's because somehow, some way, throughout the history of the United States, we've turned our back on traditional family values and traditional community values. Now, there's over 300 million people that live in the United States. So naturally, not everyone's going to be the same. Not all the families are going to be the same. But from what I have personally observed, for the most part, traditional family values and traditional community values is nothing more than a chapter in a history book. It's perceived by the average American as obsolete, like the Model T Ford or like an iPhone 6. And most people, for the most part, in the United States, chase a lifestyle of instant gratification, and that's more important than family values. Or they chase career and money more than anything else, because you got to make a lot of money just to even begin to have a life here in the U.S., because things are so dang expensive. Um, yeah, it's just, it is what it is. But I in the middle of the pandemic, I went to Mexico and lived in Mexico for almost a year to volunteer for an aerospace startup, because I was gung-ho about trying to do whatever it takes to become qualified to work for SpaceX as a Starship engineer, because my dream of a career ever since I was a kid is I always wanted to be a Starship engineer, because my biggest role model growing up was an actor by the name of LeVar Burton. He's famous for portraying Geordi LaForge on Star Trek Next Generation, and he's almost so famous for a TV show that he did called Reading Rainbow. So that got me into engineering, and that got me into reading books at an early age. And the one good thing that my dad did for me, who was a drunk and a junkie and spent most of his life in and out of jail, is that he also pressured me into getting into reading books. He's the one who introduced me to Reading Rainbow, and he's the one who got me hooked on Star Trek at an early age. And of course, I always perceived the goal of being a Starship engineer as nothing more than a pipe dream, because I was under the impression that starships wouldn't exist in my lifetime until SpaceX came along and changed my mind on that. And I used the power of the internet to talk to a lot of Starship engineers who work for SpaceX over a Facebook group. And I was asking for them advice on, hey, what can I do to be qualified to be a Starship engineer? And one of the most common pieces of advice they gave me was to go volunteer for an aerospace startup, because that'll do more to qualify me due to the things that I would experience and learn through that than a college degree. And while at the same time, Elon Musk made a public announcement saying that he's no longer going to hire people with PhDs because he's tired of being told what he can't do, which is really cool. So I followed their advice, and I found an aerospace startup in Mexico. So I went and lived in Mexico for almost a year, specifically in Zapopan, Jalisco, which is right next to Guadalajara, one of the most heavily populated cities in Mexico. And before you go, oh, the cartels, let me tell you something. Every country's got its problems, and every country has good areas and bad areas. Just like there are beautiful and peaceful places to live in Mexico, despite what's going on in Mexico right now, that I talked about in my other YouTube video of why I chose Argentina over Mexico. Just like, it's like, okay, it's like saying, if you say to someone, hey, you shouldn't go to Mexico because of cartels, blah, 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 crime, blah, blah, blah. That's like saying, hey, you shouldn't immigrate to the United States because of all the mass shootings that we have, and the fact that just about every major city in the United States is a big pile of shit. I mean, just look at Chicago or any of them. And I could tell you, and here's the thing, but there's plenty of beautiful and peaceful places to live in the United States as well. Some of the most beautiful neighborhoods I've seen are in like West Virginia and Pennsylvania. But they're expensive as hell. And you have to basically go up to eyeballs in debt in order to live that kind of life. But you don't have to do that in a lot of other countries. And the world is so much bigger than the United States, and there's like many cultures, many countries outside of the United States. And thankfully, humanity is so diverse that not every culture makes the exact same mistakes at the exact same time. You know, we're all human, I mean, at the end of the day. But so when I went to Mexico to volunteer for the aerospace startup, that was the first time in my life that I ever lived outside of the United States. And there was a lot of things that I discovered. And that is that Mexicans who live in the United States, whether they've immigrated here legally or illegally, they are very different than the Mexicans who live in Mexico. And that makes sense because, you know, when you go immigrate to another country and live there for a long time, you're going to be influenced by that culture and assimilate to a certain degree. And, but, you know, the average everyday Mexican that you meet in Mexico, especially in southern Mexico, who are not Americanized at all, they are some of the most hardworking, honorable, and family-oriented and community-oriented people I've ever met. And in the United States, if someone immigrates to the United States and puts in the work to assimilate, 9 times out of 10, they're still not going to be fully accepted, because the way the culture is in the United States, people are going to hate you for not being just like them. I mean, look at me. I'm just an average, normal white guy, and I am greatly hated by other white people for not being just like them. And people are so divided in the United States. If you so much as buy the wrong car, people will burn your car to the ground, all because they don't like the politics of the person that founded that car's company. That's how divided we are in the United States. It's insane. Meanwhile, in Mexico, average everyday Mexicans, they honestly do not give a fuck what you look like, where you come from. As long as you're respectful towards them and their culture, they accept you. And to give you an example of just how accepting Mexicans are in Mexico, I lost like 100-something pounds living in Mexico, just by walking a couple miles a day. And there was this boxing gym that I walked past every day, because there was this pedestrian bridge that went over an 8-lane highway, and I used and you had to go up 2 stories of stairs to get to the top of the bridge. And I used those stairs as an exercise machine, because it was really good exercise for my legs to just go up and down those steps, which happened to be right in front of a boxing gym that was on the 2nd floor of a 2-story building. And one day they had a large window open for ventilation, and one of the boxing instructors there waved at me and was like, "Hey, come over here, work out with us, join us, blah, blah, blah." And then I got to talking with him, and I explained to him that at the time I was broke and I couldn't afford a gym membership there. And but they saw me for like nearly a year consistently exercising every day. And one of the funny quirks that comes with living in a Mexican community is that because of the strong family values and strong community values, even in a large town, a heavily populated town like Zapopan, it feels like living in a small town, because everyone knows everyone. And because of that, gossip travels faster than the speed of light in a Mexican community. It's awesome. And so I've developed a reputation in that neighborhood as the gringo that was always exercising every day, working hard to get his weight off. And I earned a lot of respect for that. And they respected my dedication towards trying to lose weight so much that the gym instructor talked to the lady who's the manager of that gym, and they let me have a free membership there, because they respected my dedication so much. They just wanted me to work out with them, and it was awesome. And it was and I honestly just couldn't afford it at the time, and it was a long story why. Yeah, and so that's just how Mexicans are. Mexicans don't give a crap. If you're a good person, if you're an honorable person, they'll respect that, and you have to work really hard, even as an introvert, to have an active social life in a Latin American neighborhood. But anyway, so also, here's the thing: 9 out of 10 family groups in the United States that I observe, where's the father? You don't see him. The only time I've ever seen a father in a family group in the United States is during Christmas. The rest of the year, fathers are fighting tooth and nail just to be able to see their kids on the weekends. And these are good people. These are the type of fathers that they did the best they can to be a good father, and then their wife ended up cheating on them, divorcing them, and taking half their shit. That's just the way it is. The United States is 50% chance of divorce, 60% chance of being cheated on. 80% of divorces are filed by women, And that number jumps up to 90% if they're college educated, because it's hard to go to college without getting liberalism or wokeism shoved down your throat, or worrying about a mass shooting. And there's two basic things in life that I've been wanting to accomplish that I consider my American dream. One is to get a really good, solid education in math, engineering, and physics. I wanted to do that even before SpaceX came around. But here's the thing: the reason I came back to the United States is because the aerospace startup failed. But by the time I came back to the U.S., I was inspired to start my own aerospace startup someday. So now my goal is no longer to work for SpaceX. My goal is to do my own thing. I have my own idea for an aerospace startup. I even created a whole other YouTube channel called Terran's Space Program that talks about it. And I'll be pursuing that when I'm in Argentina. But anyway, so the two basic things is education and build a family and break my family generational curse of kids growing up in broken homes. I am 39 years old and I'm still not married and I still don't have any kids. And it's not because I can't get a woman to date me. It is so ridiculously easy to get a date in the United States. And you could say the same thing about other countries. It's not that hard. It's not rocket science. You'd be surprised. I mean, you could be just an average looking, a below average looking dude. I consider myself a below average looking dude. And you could still get a date with a beautiful woman. It's not that hard. You'd be surprised just how attractive confidence is to a woman. I'm just saying, it is what it is. I'm not a ladies' man or anything. It's just I'm just an adult, and it is what it is. But it's just that I can't find a woman that won't turn me into a single dad. And I can't find a woman in the United States that I can trust to not create a situation that would lead to my kids growing up in a broken home. And even if I could, let's say for the sake of the argument, I could find a woman like that. How the hell am I supposed to pay for that family? How on earth am I supposed to provide for that family when everything is so freaking expensive? And also, I'm smart enough not to go hundreds of thousands of dollars into debt just to achieve the illusion of the American dream. And there's got to be a better way. And living in Mexico exposed me to Latin American culture and showed me another way. And when I was in Mexico, there's this park that I love to go work out at whenever I wasn't at the boxing gym. And it's called Guadalajara Metropolitan Park. Massive park. Hundreds of people are there every day. And every single time I go to that park to work out, which was mostly just in the form of me just walking around the park, because just a simple walk around the park is like a 2+ mile walk. And is that there were large family groups there. I'm talking like 50 plus family groups. Family groups of 50 plus people. Every single one of them, they didn't just have a father in that family group. They had a grandfather. Sometimes they had a great grandfather sitting in a wheelchair. And 3 generations of fathers. In the United States, 9 out of 10 family groups I meet, no father. Mexico, opposite, 3 generations of fathers. And it was mind-blowing. And that was the biggest culture shock to me, was the families. And that gave me hope that I actually could find someone worth marrying and settling down with. And also, in the United States, sure, there are good women that are worth settling down, marrying, and having kids with in the United States. But actually finding them and them not being married, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack of infinite size. But in Mexico, I've met good traditional women like that all the time. And it was as easy as walking outside. That is not an exaggeration. That's how easy it is to find good women there. But of course, if you go to a club in Mexico, you're going to find whores there just as much as if you go to a club in the United States. People are people, it's just how it is. And at first, I thought this was a thing exclusive to Mexico, and that's why I was all gung-ho about immigrating to Mexico ever since I've been back to the United States. And I literally got into the trucking trade so I could save up $150,000 because In Mexico, for $40,000 to $80,000, I can buy a 4-bedroom house in a nice neighborhood, uh, and for around $50,000, I could get me a decent education. Um, but I learned in Argentina that education's free, and for $60,000, I could buy a 1-bedroom apartment within walking distance of of a public university, where I could get all the math education and physics. All the math, engineering, and physics education, with a focus on space, even 3D printing, for free, because education is sort of perceived as a basic human right in Argentina. And there's a lot of countries that are like that. And the whole reason I even discovered that about Argentina is that I was interacting with someone over Discord when I was living in Mexico, who lives in Greece, who studies aerospace engineering. And I asked him how much education was over in Greece, and he told me that it was free. And that blew my mind, because I've never heard of that before. And he's like, "Oh yeah, that's normal." And then he proceeded to explain to me that he thinks that us Americans are crazy because of how expensive education is here, and we wonder why we're so uneducated. It makes sense, and that made me wonder, hey, is there a Latin American country where I could go to where education is free? And that Google rabbit hole led me to learning about Argentina. And so that's one of the main reasons I've chosen, one of the many reasons why I've chosen Argentina over Mexico. Because Argentina is also a country where the culture, for the most part, has not turned its back on traditional family values. But of course, you got to know where to live in Argentina. Like, if you go to Buenos Aires, that's like the perfect place to go to if you want to have some feminist boss babe as a wife. And but outside of Buenos Aires, specifically in Cordoba, people are extremely traditional, extremely family oriented, and community oriented, just as much as Mexicans, if not more. And which is awesome. And it's like I could go to the public uni there, and yeah, it's a lot. It's just as easy to find a good woman with morals down there, who has a father, which is a big deal. And if you know, you know. But yeah, so that's why I want to move to another country, so that I could finally finish my education without going up to my eyeballs in debt student loans, and also to be able to settle down, get married, have kids, and buy a house and not finance it, so that it's paid off the moment I move into the house, and have a good car, and basically, have a life without going hundreds of thousands of dollars into debt. and I'll explain to you why it's so important to me to not be drowning in debt, is because in my 20s, I couldn't manage money for shit. And I did the classic mistake that a lot of Americans made. I got a bunch of credit cards. I went crazy with it, and had student loans. And basically, I was up to like $40-something thousand in debt. And it wasn't until I was around 32 years old that I finally clawed my way out of debt, teaching myself how to manage my finances. And that is a hell that I never want to go back to. There's nothing more liberating than being debt-free. As of right now, I did try to get back into college, and I still learned a hard way again, the only way to do that is student loans. So I got a few $1,000s in student loans, and I got some back taxes I need to pay off, because my taxes went kind of crazy during the pandemic. And I got a cell phone bill, and that's pretty much all the bills I have right now. So right now I'm an over-the-road trucker, and I make $1,000 to $1,300 a week after taxes, and I live out of my truck, so I'm not paying rent anywhere or mortgage anywhere. And it took me almost 2 years to get to this point, because of how long it took for me to get into the trucking trade. So starting next year, I'm in a position where I'm going to be stacking up savings like crazy, and I'll probably take only 2, maybe 3 years tops to actually get to the $150,000 that I need to take with me to Cordoba. Because what I'll do is when I go to Cordoba, I'll spend $20,000 to $60,000 on a one-bedroom apartment, walking distance from the public uni I want to go to. I'll spend the first year in Argentina just getting used to the Argentine dialect of Spanish, because I'm studying neutral Latin American Spanish right now, in that, which will give me the ability to communicate in just about any Latin American country. And then once I get used to the Argentine dialect, then I'll be fluent in 2 dialects of Spanish. That's very important. And now, how I plan on financially taking care of myself while I'm down there, the savings is meant to just make sure that I have a place to stay. Like, what I'll do is that I'll stay in that one-bedroom apartment until I'm married, and I have like 1 kid and maybe another one on the way. Then me and my wife will go shopping for a house where I could probably get a 4 or 5 bedroom house for like $60,000 to $70,000 versus the $350,000 to $500,000 that it would take in the U.S. So that's what that savings is there for, to be able to afford to buy a place to live and still have savings left over without having to blow the rest of it on education, because education is free. Now, how I plan to financially take care of myself down there, like everyday expenses, well, you only need to make like $500 or $600 a month in Cordoba to live a pretty comfortable life, and that's in the context of living in a place that's already paid off. And I plan on doing that by getting an online TESOL certification, which is a certification to teach English as a second language. And I will basically be a digital nomad teaching English online. Of course, once my first year in Argentina is complete and I'm used to the dialect of Spanish there, then I would actually get me a student visa and then start going to college full time. And what's cool about that is that you don't have to prove that you're making $2,000 plus a month in order to get Argentine citizenship. If you have a student visa and you've been living there for a couple years with that student visa, that's all you need to actually get that. So the whole path towards citizenship in Argentina is actually easier than the path towards citizenship in Mexico. And also the US dollar goes further in Argentina than it does Mexico. And so the reason I'm immigrating to another country is because it's the only way for me to finish my education and start that aerospace startup that I want to do. So, and it's the only way to basically have a family and break the family curse. And in America, I have to go the lone wolf route in order to have peace. And but the women in Argentina actually like men, and it's just something experience much in America, because women in America, for the most part, have been brainwashed from a very early age to either hate or despise men or not respect men at all. And nice guys get left in the friend zone. Nice guys get used. Being a gentleman is perceived as a sign of weakness in America, while being a gentleman in a Latin American country is perceived as a form of masculinity. And masculinity isn't considered toxic in Latin America. So yeah, that's why I'm immigrating to another country. I love America. I don't love what it's become. And even if I could afford to provide for a family in the United States, even if I could, find a good woman worth building a family with here in the United States, which is the equivalent of winning the lottery, my kids would be growing up in a culture with no morality, and I would have to live in fear every time they went to school that there would be a mass shooting. There's no mass shootings in Argentina. And when you go to college in Argentina, you don't get politics shoved down your throat. You don't worry about mass shootings at colleges in Argentina. When you go to college in Argentina, you could just focus on learning stuff. Imagine that. You can't do that in the U.S. And I did experiment attending college online while in the United States. And basically you're going thousands of dollars into student loan debt to use the self-taught method. So it's like, I could do the self-taught method for free. You'd be surprised how many math, engineering, and physics textbooks you could download for free. So Yeah. Anyway, I hope this answers y'all's questions on like why I want to immigrate to another country, how I plan to take care of myself. And, the teaching English as a second language is how I plan on taking care of myself until I finish my college education. And then best case scenario, I do my own aerospace startup and it succeeds. Worst case scenario, the aerospace startup fails and I end up being a math, engineering, or physics professor somewhere. So either way, you know, I'll be able to take care of myself, no problem. So that's how I plan to take care of myself when I go to another country, and these are the reasons why I want to go to another country. I hope this answers y'all's questions, and y'all have a happy new year.